अब फिर कहूँ हब से की जाको प्रमोदपुरी नाम, तहाँ 12 महीना बीत भई संबत 1715 तमाम। तहाँ 12 महीना बीत भई संबत 1715 तमाम। अब फिर कहूँ हब से की बोले श्री प्राणनाथ प्यारे की जय, सतगुरु महाराज की जय। On yesterday's discourse, we talked about the revelation of Bani from Mahamati Prananath through Mahamati Prananath, the couplets of Ras, the couplets of Prakash, and the couplets of Satritu, those three books of Tartham that are compiled in the holy book of Tartham Sagar were revealed in the prison wall within the prison of Sa Pramodpuri. So he was put in prison mistakenly with a false accusation, as we know. And we talked about the personality of Bihariji a little bit. He was difficult, as Roji said. He was not working diligently in promoting the faith. He was not honest to himself, and he did not seem to display the characteristics or the personalities of the consorts yet. The fact of the matter is, in every story there are the protagonists and the antagonists, and they are both essential for a story to move forward, and they propel the plot or the story in different and usually opposite way. The protagonist works towards the central story goals, while the antagonist works against the goals. So the fact of the matter is, we do not have to be critical of Bihariji for how he behaved, how he treated the Sundar Sadji. Being the leader of the faith, he didn't listen to their grievances. The fact of the matter is, had Bihariji not been in the position of leadership, and had he not been critical of Prananath, would not have been probably successful in attaining what he did. So the glory of Rama is sung all over the world because the character of Ravana was there all the time. Krishna is Lord Krishna because he slayed one of the most ferocious demons in the name of Kamsa. So these are the divine plans of the divine beings. We know that Lord Rama had to discard his wife, Goddess Sita, when a washerman told him that she was kidnapped by somebody, and it was not wise for Lord Rama as a king to embrace her as his wife because she was not with him for a long time because Ravana had kidnapped her. So also, if we look at Christianity, there is a sacrifice of Jesus for the whole of humanity, the crucifixion of Jesus. It's stated to wash away the sins of all of humanity. So these are part of sacrifices. And as we all know, for achieving greater things in life, in our lives, we need to sacrifice something. We need to sacrifice the comfort of long hours of sleep, get-togethers, the parties with friends and families, and spend sleepless nights and hours in the libraries if we want to be successful academically. Isn't that the case? We have to get out of our comfort zone if we want to achieve something meaningful, something significant, something that we truly feel proud of. So this is all the master plan of the Lord Supreme that Prananath had to live full by, and he had to struggle a little bit initially, right? So we as Sundar Sas do not have to be critical of Bihariji, not take him in a negative way, not regard him as a negative character of Prananath's life. But what we should regard him as the propeller the catalyst for the revelation of Dharma as well, because without him, Prananath would not have realized his true potential. Had he not been in the prison and Hafsa, he would not probably cry for Satguru's guidance as deeply as he did, as hard as he did. So I just wanted to clarify that part, that we should never be critical of anyone. As it is stated in scriptures that although we despise suffering in our lives, suffering gives us some valuable lessons and teachings. Actually, suffering brings knowledge into our lives. Although it may seem hard to bear, these things are essential. That's why we fall in our lives. We have some rough moments, rough patches, bad experiences, but all those experiences make us who we are today, stronger, and we realize the stronger version of ourselves. So just wanted to make it clear to you all that we do not have to be critical of Bihariji, and we do not have to think bad of Prananath when he chose his faith over his wife, because it was all the divine plan of Sri Radji, because it is stated in one of the holy books of Tartam that it is all because of the will of God that we experience what we experience in this world. Hua hai sab hukume, hota hai shab hukum. So it is all the will of God. It is all what Lord wants that happens in our lives. So it was for a year that Prananath was in the prison of Hafsa Pramodpuri. And Prananath, Lal Dasi says, Taha 12 mahina Beetak vai samvat 1715 tamama. So he stays in the prison for 1 year. And the year 1715 is over. So by the end of 1715, the year 1715, he returns to Bihariji, because the divine revelations were made through Prananath. The book of Ras, Prakash and Satritu were revealed to him. And Satguru Maharaj had already passed away, it is said. And in the scriptures it is said that Avashyam Bhavino Bhava Bhavanti Mahatamapi. So Niti Shastras state that even the greatest of the greatest people that come to this world have to live this world. Be it Lord Krishna, Lord Buddha, Lord Rama, they all had to leave this world. At least their material existence had to be renounced in this world. So after 74 years of divine leelas, Satguru Maharaj passed away in the year 1712. And as we all know that nahi pratikshate mrityu kritam asya nava kritam, that the death never waits anyone. It does not have the power to discriminate whether one has fulfilled, the soul has fulfilled its journey, or it's in the middle of the journey, or it has not, it has just started the journey of experiencing what it came in this world for in the first place. So Devchandraji Maharaj assigns the responsibility of awakening all the Sundarshaji, but as we discussed yesterday, that Prananath was willing to sacrifice the leadership of awakening Sundarshaji to Bihariji, because Bihariji was not the one that was conciliatory. He was not there to make amends with Prananath and work together with Prananath in awakening. So as we talked about yesterday, Balbai came to Prananath and then she proposed if Bihariji could be declared the leader of Sri Krishna Pranami, Vijananda Sampradaya, that Satguru Maharaj initiated. So after a year in jail, Prananath was promptly released. He was given some land and some compensation for wrongfully imprisoned by the king of Jamnagar. So he returns to Bihariji and he talks about the revelations that came through him. And he showed him what was revealed. Uddhav Thakur, the younger brother, had compiled the revelations in piece of paper. And Bihariji was not willing to go that way, that the dissemination of Satguru's understanding, the revelation would not be a part of awakening other Sundar Sadhji. It would just be oral according to Bihariji, because he knew that Satguru Maharaj, in one way or the other, is residing in the heart of Maharaj Thakur Prananath. So he was jealous a little bit. And Prananaji realized that it was not a right thing for him to stay in Jamnagar any longer, but rather go to Junagadh, where the Jam King had given him a vast amount of land. So he thought that he could awaken some souls in Junagadh and allocate the land that he got from the king to poor families. So he goes to Junagadh. So he takes a shower in one of the rivers along the way, and he goes towards Junagadh. And there was a Kshatriya named Birji Bhan, a man, a Kshatriya. There are 4 castes in Hinduism: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. It is not hereditary as it is made out to be these days. So you are born a Brahmin, you will remain a Brahmin. That was not how it was designed. It was based on the karma that one would be engaged in. According to the Vedic scriptures, the Brahmana is the one who knows the Brahma, the Lord. So Brahma Janati Brahmana, as it is stated. So a Kshatriya named Birji Bhanji was there. He was there with his young daughter named Kumbari. She was 8 years old. So Prananaji was coming towards him, and then as soon as the little girl named Kumbari saw the saint and his team, Prananaji, the saint and Prananaji and the team, she promptly covered her head with the shawl that she had. And her father was amazed by her action. He asked her, "Why did you cover your head? It's only the married women that cover their heads when they see their husbands." And she's only 8 years old. And she tells her father that, "My dad, my father, the man, the saint that you see coming towards us is my husband from my previous life." And Birji Bhanji is amazed, surprised, bewildered by that fact that she was saying something that was unusual. And she insisted that the saint coming towards her is none other than her husband from the previous life. She insisted, and finally he thought that it is a good thing if he could go and ask the saint. So he goes to Prananaji and tells him that, "Oh saint, I do not know your name, but my daughter, she's 8 years old, she's saying that you are her husband from previous life. I do not know if she is telling the truth, but she is insisting. Can you ask her?" So Prananaji was surprised in the beginning, because it is not something that he had never heard of, but he was surprised a little bit. He asked her, "Did you say that you are my wife from previous life? If that is the case, can you answer me some questions?" And Kumari promptly agreed to Prananaji's request, and she answers everything that he asked. For example, "How many brothers are we? How many siblings do I have?" And she says, "You were 5 brothers." And he asked about his home and many things about his family and things of that nature. And Prananaji realizes that it was indeed the incarnation of Fullabai. So the soul of Fullabai entered the body of Kumbari because Prananaji had blessed her with her desire to be fulfilled. she wanted to serve Sundar Sadji Fulbai, his wife, the previous wife that had passed away just recently. And Prananaji realized that it was Tezkuvari who had the soul, the spirit of Fulbai in her. So Prananaji was confident that she was telling the truth. But Tezkuvari was a little too young to serve Sundar Sadhi. She was young, she was into her education and all that. So Prananaji told her that he would call upon her when he settles someplace. And she is a little older to be able to serve Sundar Sadhi. So Prananaji promises that someday in the future she'll be able to be with Prananaji. So the concept of reincarnation, right? The concept of reincarnation can be found in the teachings of the Vedic scriptures. If you look at Bhagavad Gita, it states, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajante kaleshwaram tam tame vaiti kaunteya sada tattava bhavika. What it means is whatever one remembers upon giving up the body at the time of death, O son of Kunti, O Arjuna, one attains that state, being always absorbed in such contemplation. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse number 6, Sri Krishna says that whatever one thinks at the time of death, that soul attains that state. So Fulbai wanted to serve Sundar Sadhi, and that desire to serve Sundar Sadhi actually landed her in a rough spot, in a difficult spot, and she was discarded. She had to be discarded by Prananaji, and we all also talked about the reasoning behind it. It was all the will of Sri Raji Maharaj, the sacrifice for the greater good of the community. So Tezkuvari had the soul of Fulbai. So in this world too, some stories of past lives, past experiences, and there are some relationships that go through different lives and experience different relationships, different they shared unique experiences, as it is stated. If you look into that, you will find it. So Prananaji realized that it was Fulbai in Tezkuvari that resided there. So he promises her that one day he would call upon her to serve Sundar Sadhi, but she was too young back then. So Prananaji finally arrives in Junagadh, and in Junagadh lives a guy named Kanji Bhai, and Mahamati Prananaji distributed the land that he got from the Jam king, and then he established a community there. And then he started giving the discourse. And Kanji Bhai was impressed by the teachings of Prananaji, the revelations by Prananaji. And he became a disciple. And there in Junagadh lived a Bhagavata scholar, a deep Vedic scholar named Hariji Vyas. So he was erudite in 18 Puranas, in Vedas, in Upanishads. He would know all the verses. He had memorized the teachings of all these scriptures. And it so happened that one day he fell really sick. And his family thought that he was about to leave his body behind. He was about to die. So they got him out of his bed and laid him on the courtyard. And they started donating things. They started giving alms, because in Vedic rituals, it is believed that when at the time of death, if you earn some merits by donating cows, donating clothes, helping poor people or things of that nature, then you earn enough merits to get to heaven. So when Hariji Vyas was removed off his bed and then put on the courtyard outside, and then people, his family members, his wife, his kids started giving out some alms, charities to people. Then he was upset with that. He said, लगे दान करा बने को तब भया सावचे त एक कैसा काम करत हो शो में नहीं तखेत. So he said, my sons, my family, what you are doing is not good for me, because with this charities, with these donations, with these alms, I'm not gonna get anything. The heavenly place that I wanna be in, this action of donation, these actions of charities are not gonna help me. He asked them, क्यों मोहे दान करावत जमपुरी का साधना में नाही इन इंडका मेरा क्यों कल्पाओ मन. He says, this action of giving donations and charities is going to take me to hell, not to heaven. People at the end of their lives ask their family members to donate cows and all that, because they think that with these donations they can cross over the river called Baitarani, as it is stated in Vedic scriptures, and they make it to heaven. They would grab the tail of the cow, a donated cow, and then they cross over the river Baitarani. But they do not realize to the fact that Baitarani river is in the path of hell, not heaven. If you look at the stratification of these 14 planes, this is like going downwards to upwards, from ethereal worlds to heavenly worlds. So Baitarani is in the ethereal world, and you cannot cross over the river Baitarani and get to heaven. But in Vedic, really ritualistic traditions, beliefs, they think that it is the way to make it to heaven. So Hariji Vyas, who was the scholar of all these Vedic scriptures, was aware of the fact that he could not be there in the divine place that he wants to be with these actions of his family members. And he is always upset with two things in life, because he says, "Doi baat ki daaz hai inme se liye jata hu मैं जाको में हाँ कही सो ना न कही कि न जाको में ना कही so हाँ न कही कि न." So he had something in his mind, something that bugged his mind for all this life, because whatever he said yes to, nobody had the audacity to say no, because he was such a scholar, such a learned man. He was so well versed in the Vedic scriptures. Whenever he said, this is what it is, there was nobody who would say otherwise. And whenever he said, no, this is not how it should be, or this is not what Vedas say, or this is not what Bhagavad Gita says, there was no one around him who could say otherwise. And due to which he could not be awakened, he could not understand, he could not have an opportunity to learn something that he was not aware of, something that he was unaware of. So Kannaji Bhai, who was working for Hariji Das, thought of himself. He thought to himself, Hariji Das could probably be from Paramdham. That is the reason why he is going against these Vedic ritualistic practices. He is against the alms giving. He is against the charities at the time of death. So if I could have him meet Prananaji, and Prananaji could tell him about all the secrets of Vedic scriptures, if he could reveal the understanding of the beyond to Hariji Vyas, then he could be awakened. So why don't I take this opportunity to be a part of his awakening. So from that moment on, he began to serve Hariji Vyas more than anyone in his family. नीत तरकारी ल्या वही शोध के बागों से, तब राजी होवे कान्हा पर कहो शाबाश में. He started taking care of Hariji Vyas even more greatly. He would bring fresh vegetables from the field and cook and serve him. He would ask what Hariji Vyas would like to eat, and he served him the best he could. So gradually, Hariji Vyas felt better. And as he felt better, he was so grateful to the service of Kanji. I've been keep telling all the Sundar Sadji for all these years I've been into this faith of Krishna Pranami faith, Nijananda sect. I've been telling people that the role of awakening does not rest only on the soldiers of the religious scholars or the saints of Sri Krishna Pranami faith. It is the role designated to all of us, all the Sundar Sadhis. So Kanji Bhai here, although he is not scholarly, although he is not well versed in Bhagavata, although he is not well versed in the teachings of Vedas, he is helping Hariji Vyas such that Hariji Vyas could potentially be awakened. There are ways all of us, all the Sundar Sadhs can chip in, can contribute to the awakening of souls in this world. And until we all chip in, until we all come together, the process of awakenings only gets delayed. But if we all work together, invite one person to the discourse of our saints and sages, the scholarly people, then their souls can be awakened. So each one of us has that responsibility. So when Kanji Bhai serves Hariji Vyas with all his heart, Hariji Vyas recovers from his illness and he becomes thankful. He says, "What do you want from me, Kanji Bhai? Because you have served me so well, even better than my own family members. They would not have done what you've done to me. So tell me what you want. Even if I give you 1,000 rupees, it was 300-400 years ago, 1,000 rupees would mean a million, more than million rupees today in present calculations. So he says, even if I give you 1,000 rupees, that would not be enough for what you did." And Kanji Bhai says, "First, I would like you to recover really well, and then one day I'll ask something from you." And gradually he fully recovered, Hariji Vyas. And one day Kannaji Bhai asked Hariji Vyas, "तब कान्हाजी बोलिया, मैं मांगत हूँ एक वस्तु. I'll ask one thing from you." He didn't ask any monetary compensation. He didn't ask for any wealth. He didn't ask for any jewelry, or he didn't ask any such thing. Because when you serve someone, when you help someone, it should not be for the fame. It should not be for some selfish motive. It should be purely for the sake of serving that person. What Kanji Bhai asked surprised Hariji Vyas. What he said was, "Ek sadhu ko shunao charcha yehi pahu mein kast." All I want you to do is have a discourse for one saint that have recently come to the town. So you are a Bhagavata scholar. You know all about the Vedas and the teachings of all the Vedic scriptures. All I want you to do is have the saint listen to your discourse. That is all I want from you. That is all. He didn't say, Kanji Bhai didn't say that I want you to listen to the discourse of that new saint, the newly arrived saint. He said, I want you to share your understanding to that saint. Hariji Vyas said, Syavas Kanaji tumko kyati magya mujhse. Oh, Kanji Bhai, thank you. What did you ask from me? Ek to raji kiya seva maine. You already made me so happy with your service, and now you are asking me to share my understanding to that saint? I could not be happier for you. He didn't ask for any material things. All he wanted was the awakening of the potential soul of Paramdham. Dear Sundar Sadhji, if we serve people around us, if we make people grateful of our service, through our service, then the awakening of souls, the awakening of the world does not take a long time. Here in this world, we serve for the name. We serve our mandirs, our temples, our gurujans for fame and name. But Mahamati Prananath says, the service to God, the service to humanity should be all done in secret, so that you do not breed the sense of false pride within you. Daya dana seva pe sarve ange, kije to sarve go. Do it all secret. Your charities, your service should all be secret, so that you do not breed the sense of ego within you. You do not keep false pride that you could serve someone, because you are not serving anyone. You are just offering yourself to someone that gives you a sense of satisfaction. So you are benefiting more, probably more than the person that you are serving. In the world that we live today, people give a packet of noodle to someone, and then they take the selfie, and then they post it on Facebook that they served someone who was really hungry, was really starving. This is the world that we are living today, in the world of social media, that we over-exaggerate our services. But those realized souls, those true souls, all leave it up to Raji Maharaj, to the Lord Supreme, saying that it is all happening according to the will of God. It is not me doing it. It is Raji, or it is God getting it done through me. I'm not doing it, but God is having it done through me. That is the way to go, because that does not give us any sense of false ego. In all the scriptures, be it Vedic and Abrahamic, they all talk about ego is the primary hindrance to realize God. Mahamati Prananath says that we should never have that ego in us, because when we have that ego, then even God cannot save us from drowning into this cosmic suffering in this mind. So between God and yourself comes that ego. And with donations, with charities that we do, if we have some expectations, then we lose the path that leads to God. So Kanji Bhai was truly happy. He was remarkably happy when Hariji Vas was excited as well. And Hariji Vyas was too grateful, so grateful to Kanji Bhai for his service and what he asked in return for his service. So one day, Kanji Bhai took Prananath to Hariji Vyas, and as soon as they met, Laldas says, "Milate hi sukha paya, karne charcha lage aap." They both felt happy when they met, Prananath and Hariji Vyas, because it is stated that ज्ञानी से ज्ञानी मिले ज्ञान की लुटालट, मूर्ख से मूर्ख मिले लाठी से चुटाचट. When a smart person, when a person that is well versed, intellectual man meets another intellectual man, then they share their understanding, they share their experiences, they benefit, both of them benefit from each other. But when a stupid man meets another one, then what happens? They fight it out with each other, they battle it out, and both of them suffer. So Prananath and Hariji Vyas met in Chinagar. And as soon as they met, Hariji Vyas asked Prananath if he would like to share his knowledge and his understanding, or he would like Hariji Vyas to share. And Prananath humbly said, "I've heard a lot about you, Hariji Vyas. I would like to hear from you, your understanding, because I know that you are well versed in the Vedas, in the Puranas, in the Upanishads. So I'm just a regular individual. I just want to hear from you." So Prananath begins listening to the Bhagavata discourse from Hariji Vyas. For a month, he listens. Hariji Vyas is seated in a higher seat and Prananath is sitting on the floor, listening to the discourse, patiently, without any rush. He just listens to his discourse, truly attentive. Dear Chandraji, listening is a great skill. A lot of times we just want to talk and not listen what the other person has to say. And when it happens, the relationships go through rough patches because there are misunderstandings in life that we all experience. But if we do not listen to, and we just want to talk, we just want to prove our points, then we never come to the negotiation and we never sort out our differences. That is why listening is the skill. So Prananath is patiently listening to the Bhagavata discourse. Although Prananath is aware of all that Hariji Vyas is telling him, because with Tarkam, as we all know, all the secrets, all the underlying messages of all the scriptures, be it Vedic or Abrahamic, the secrets of Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, as well as the secrets of Quran, Bible, Torah, and all those scriptures become so clear to those enlightened with that. So Prananath knows all of the things that Hariji Vyas is talking about, yet he patiently listens to the discourse. One day, Hariji Vyas talks about the abode of Lord Narayana. He says that the abode of Narayana is more than 8.4 million acres in expansion and size. It is expanded to that area and it is made up of diamond. And he says that the abode of Narayana is the most secret abode. And once a soul gets there, the soul does not return to this world. It is the topmost abode of all the deities. And Prananath felt that it was about time that he begins to ask questions. He says that it is the place of salvation for souls. Prananath says, the abode that you talk about that is expanded to 8.4 million square miles, is that of Lord Narayana or Lord Akshara Brahma? Then Hariji Vyas says, to be honest with you, it is the abode of Akshara. He says, यह थोड़ा अक्षर की लिख्या शास्त्रों में. It is stated in the scriptures that the abode that I just talked about is actually that of infallible Brahma, Akshara Brahma, that does not perish, who does not perish, who is the creator of universes. But that fact is something that Hariji Vyas is unaware of. He just says that it is the abode of Akshara Brahma. Prananath again asked, तब कदमों लागा फेर कया ये ठाउर पाऊं तुमसे. So Prananath grabs his lotus feet, touches his lotus feet and asks Hariji Vyas, can you please tell me more about this place, this abode? Because I just want to make my mind clear about this, because I want salvation. My soul wants to get to that place. Can you please explain to me? If you do not tell me the secret of this, then who would? Because you are the one who is well versed in all these scriptures. He asks, he continues to ask, whose abode is actually that? Who resides there? You said it is the place of salvation for the soul. Then is it within this universe or it is beyond this universe? Is it upward? Is it downward? Where is it? Is it within the realm of nature or it is beyond the realm of nature? Please do not discriminate. Do not be biased and tell me everything. Then Hariji Vyas said, Taba jawab Vyase diya ye thora adanara. He says, it is the place of Narayana. And it is stated that Narayana's abode is in the ocean of milk, Ksheerasagar. It is within Ksheerasagar. Then Prananath asked him again, but you said that Lord Narayana did not exist at the beginning of creation. You say that Narayana did not exist at one point. Doesn't that mean that he would not exist in the future as well? Since he was created, we all know the fact that those things that are created eventually perish. They do not exist forever. All that is created has to be destroyed. All that is born has to die. So if you say that it is the place of Narayana, then it cannot be the eternal abode. It cannot be the abode where souls get liberation. So Prananath asked Hariji Vyas to not discriminate and reveal all that he knows. These frequent questions, the frequency of these questions makes Hariji Vyas nervous. And he starts to lose his temper. And he becomes mad. He says, why do you ask me these questions again and again and again? This is what is written in the scriptures, in the Vedas and Upanishads. What do I tell them? Because my understanding is based off of the scriptures, and if this is what the scriptures say, then how can I explain to you in greater details? He begins criticizing Sukadevji and Vedvyasi. Vedvyasi, who compiled all these scriptures, the Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, and Sukadevji, who explained them in details to the inquisitive minds of that time. He says, these guys, I don't know what they have written. They have written weird things, conflicting things. What do I tell you now? Then Mahamati Prananath could not bear the criticism of Sukadevji and Vedvyasi and says, Oh Hariji Vyasi, you do not have any right to criticize the founders of Vedic scriptures, the compilers of Vedic scriptures, because in these scriptures we find all the details, all the indications about the Lord Supreme in the place of salvation. In the book of Kirantan, chapter 73, verse number 26, Mahamati Prananath says, Jina jano shastron mein nahi, he shastron mein sab kuch, par jeev srishti kyun pavahi, jinki akal hai tuch. In the scriptures, there is everything. There is everything in the scriptures. Don't tell. Do not assert the fact that these scriptures do not have anything. No, they have everything for a soul to be awakened. But the jivas, the ordinary souls, would not understand the secrets underlying there. And Prananath began telling Hariji Vyas, I listened to your discourse for more than a month. Now, let me be the speaker and you, my audience, because you are unaware of the Lord Supreme, the place of salvation, and many other things. As Mahamati Prananath began describing the perishable world, imperishable world, in the realm even beyond the imperishable, as Bhagavad Gita states that as Char, Akshar, and Aksharati. Mahamati Prananath began quoting the verses of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse number 16 and 17. He said, Dvabhimo purusho loke chara shakshara yeva jaha chara sarvani bhutani kutastu akshara uchyate uttamaha purushastu anya paramatma pridharita. So as he began explaining these verses, he distinguishes between the perishable Brahma, known as Narayana, Char Purush. He went beyond Chara Purush to the imperishable Akshara Brahma, who creates and annihilates infinite number of universe with the blink of an eye, as we said. Na tasya kshana karmana nirguna prakriti para tathapi balavat kridan koti brahmanda sambhati, as Lord Mahesha says to Parvati in Maheshwar Tantra. So he quoted some of these verses from these scriptures and tell him that you have no understanding of the Lord Supreme. And as Mahamati Prananath began talking about these distinctions between three Purusha, three divine beings, Kanji Bhai, sitting next to Prananath, says, why don't you ask him about Aksharatita? Why don't you ask him about the Lord Supreme Sri Krishna? Then Mahamati Prananath says, Yah to thaka chera mein, sudha nahi akshara. To ye aksharatita ke kya devi uttara? He says, Prananath says, he does not even know much about the perishable Brahma. He does not even know much about Narayana. He doesn't have any understanding of Akshara Brahma. And you are asking me to ask him about Aksharatita, the Lord Supreme. How would he do that? Because until you have an understanding of Dharma, until you have awakened consciousness, until you have an understanding of the beyond, until your heart is enlightened with the transcendent understanding, then you are stuck. You do not have an understanding of the beyond. And I have been giving you a practical example of that. Once you go to bed and begin to have a dream, you forget your real identity. There is no way. It is undeniable fact that you cannot have an understanding of your reality. You become aligned with your dream. The experiences of your dream become real to you. When you find yourself in a difficult situation, you try to run away from it. You try to solve it. You worry about it. And if you find yourself in a good spot, you cherish it in your dream, not realizing that you are in fact, in reality, you are sleeping on your bed, all cozied up in your bed, a nice blanket, a comfortable bed. That is where you are, but you do not know that when you are in your dream. So far, all the knowledge, all the understanding, all the scriptures were a part of the attempt to understand the beyond from within the dream. It says, Mahamati Prananath says, Ete dina trilokame bhuti buddha supana, even the Vedas, the teachings of Vedanta, the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, all these are in futile attempt to understand the Lord Supreme. That could not have been done. As such, if you look at the scriptures, there is no revelation about the Leelas of the Lord Supreme, the sports of the Lord Supreme, the form of the Lord Supreme, the abode of the Lord Supreme. There are some references to it because Lord Supreme Sri Krishna revealed those to the saints and sages and messengers to some extent, such that those believing in those scriptures down the line, when Tartama would be unraveled, would be able to come to this divine understanding. That's why there are some such references in Bhagavad Gita, in Quran, in Bible, in the Vedas, in Puran Samhita, in all those scriptures. In Bhagavad Gita, you find that natad vashayati suryo na sasanko na papakaha yad gatvana nivartante tathama paramamama. Krishna says, I reside in a place where once you reach, you do not return to this world. But he does not explain how that abode looks. The features, the leelas of that abode are not explained at all in Bhagavad Gita. If you look at the Vedas, such is the state of the Vedas, because Vedas could not find Brahma. That is why Vedas are known as Ni-gam. Ni meaning something that does not, Gam meaning an understanding of. So Vedas do not have an understanding of the Lord Supreme. Vedas pursue God. Vedas kept looking for the Lord Supreme, but they could not find. Eventually, that's the reason why they are called Nigama, because they didn't have an understanding of the Brahma. So the Vedanta, all the teachings in the world, were the attempt to find God, the God Supreme, the reality, but it could not be found. So Mahamati Prananath told Kanji Bhai that Hariji Vyas does not have an understanding of the beyond. He does not even know much about Narayana. How could he know about the Lord Supreme Aksharat Sri Krishna? As we all know. Nijanam pada tina saba pada saba mantra naka ved nijanam bina khali gaye pada pada chapin ved. Even if you learn and memorize all the 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, Atharva Veda, until you have that understanding of the beyond through Nijanam, through Artham, it is all wasted. So that is why we all eventually have to come to the understanding of Artham to realize our true self. These are the verses of the Vedas that state the glory of Tartam, not the Tartam itself. And the Vedas themselves say that until one truly knows the Lord Supreme, salvation is not possible. As Yajurveda says, Tameva viditva timritumeti nanya pantha vidyate na. And the Bhagavad Gita revealed before the war of Mahabharata, the great war of Mahabharata, it was revealed by the Lord Supreme to some extent. Lord Supreme was residing in the heart of Vishnu incarnate and revealed that understanding to Arjuna, because once the war was over, Arjuna asked Sri Krishna to give him that knowledge once again, because he forgot all of that during the war. As he lost his relatives, his spiritual masters, his granddad, and everyone that he held so dear. He asked Sri Krishna if he could share the same understanding again. Then Sri Krishna says, Nacha sakyam tanmaya bhuyak tatha bhaktum ashishata param hi brahma kathitam yoga yuktena chetasa. He was the Lord Supreme who was telling me, who was revealing the secrets of Bhagavad Gita through me. Dear Sundar Saji. So, Hariji Vyas did not have an understanding of the beyond. He did not even know much about Narayana. So Kanjibai, when asked, Prananaji, why didn't you ask him about Lord Supreme? Prananaji was like, he won't be able to do it. So Prananaji then reveals the secret of all these three Purushas, Char, Akshar, and Aksharati. And Hariji Vyas realized the shortcomings of his understanding. So आज में छोड़े हथियार आगे तुम्हारे शब तुम तेहकी का भेजे हक्का के आए मेरे शब. Hariji Vyas realized that he was not as well versed as everyone thought he was. He said, "O Prananaji, you indeed came to me with the will of God to awaken me, because I always had this thing in mind that my understanding had some shortcomings, but I did not find anyone who could point those out. Now you've come, you've told me about the perishable world, imperishable world, and the abode of the Lord Supreme. You have given me the distinctions of all these places and all these divine beings. Now I want to be awakened." Mahamati Prananaji gave him the Tartam mantra, although Hariji Vyas did not belong, Hariji Vyas' soul did not belong to Paramdham. He realized that it was a pure soul. So he gave Hariji Vyas the Tartam mantra and awakened his soul. Dear Sundar Saji, on tomorrow's discourse, we'll talk about Prananaji going to Nautanpuri again. He gets imprisoned again, and he finally runs away from the prison to Deep Bandar, where he awakens other souls and continues his mission of awakening. It is where he awakens Jairam Kangsara, who is lost in the world again, the disciple of Satguru Maharaj. He is so busy in his worldly pursuits. He is making the kitchen utensils and feeding his families, not caring much about the promises that he made to Satguru Maharaj and Hamdani, that he would never be forgetful of his true identity. So on tomorrow's discourse, we'll cover those topics.